Hello from Tennessee. So I'm going to do my follow-up where I turn the table and allowed you all to ask me some questions. I'm going to do it in two parts, I think, just to kind of keep the video short. And as I'm struggling to find time to do content, it's a great way to kind of be able to upload two episodes. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. So let's get into it. I'm going to just simply take the questions in the order that they were put on the video. So first up, Semicond Reviews asked a question. I'm not going to read it because it's a little bit long, but the gist of it is, do I have an evaluation method for watches? And it's an interesting question because it's definitely something I had thought about before and got to a point where I almost considered doing a spreadsheet where I was going to try to calculate the cost of the watch, the amount of time that I was wearing it to try to associate a value to it. And then I said, I don't have time for that. So I understand the thought process. I think any of us that collect, we get into that mode where we want to associate, that with the watches that we love. I know my buddy Josh at Horology Insanity has, I believe, a fairly complex calculation formula too as well. And it doesn't mean that I won't do it someday, but at this point in time, I don't think that's anything I'm going to do at this point. Stefan asked, what are your thoughts on an expensive strap on a cheap watch? Good question. I have not really bought any expensive straps yet, but I think I don't really have an issue with it at all. I think it's one of those things. If they look well together, I think there's a certain amount of irony when you have, a strap that costs more than the watch does. But if you like it and it looks great together, I don't have an issue with it. And I think the thing is too, as we all know, the strap or bracelet are obviously an integral part of the watch. And I think that maybe sometimes it's overlooked to a large degree when we are kind of evaluating a watch. So there we go. Next question is about my trip to Australia and where else I went, and other than Cairns and Port Douglas. When my wife and I went, and that was from Alex. So when we went to Australia this last January, we flew into Cairns, and like I indicated, I think in a vid, we drove around up to Port Douglas and down. The friends that we had there lived actually in Cairns and in Innisfail. So we decided, just because of time and wanting to, just concentrate on that particular area, we stayed pretty close. Port Douglas was as far as we got away. We went into Innisfail. Our friend works on a large banana farm, so we got to see that in Innisfail. And then we got to see some of the local places. Off the top of my head, obviously we went to the Great Barrier Reef. We went out and did a submersible ride on the Great Barrier Reef. Went to Green Island, which you take a boat ride out to. We got to see a cassowary, which is this weird looking ostrich thing. We went out at a place called Eddy Bay. We went to Willa Willa Falls. One of my favorite places that we drove up through. We went to something called the Atherton Tablelands, which you go pretty. It's an interesting area because when you where we were in Cairns was tropical, and as you drive up to the Atherton Tablelands, you leave the tropics and you get into a different climate zone. So it was an amazing thing, and it reminded me of where I grew up in Vermont. It was absolutely beautiful. If I could move to Australia, I would live in the Tablelands I mean, there's probably other places too, but from what I saw, my wife and I fell in love up there. Just really quaint little area. You know, you get the Coral Sea not too far away from you, and then just beautiful, beautiful area. Trying to think of other places too as well. At the Tablelands, Barron Falls we went to too as well, and then just a lot of other just little local places too as well. But we had a great time. The funny thing about the trip too is like one of our favorite places to go to eat. Ironically, it was in a mall, but they had this place called War of Sushi, and they had this sushi train thing that still is one of the funnest things that I've done before. I wish I had one here in Tennessee. But anyway, good question. Thanks for asking. Brings back some really good memories. Will Carey ask, favorite time-related movie show? Good question. I'd have to say the show would be 24. The original 24 with Kiefer Sutherland. Excuse me. Was a great show, and at the time, as you may know or not know, it was done kind of in real time, episodic. But it was a great show because people would get, I don't want this to sound bad, but they would get killed off the show, so you didn't know sometimes how the show was going to go. And especially through the first season, it was surprising when stuff had happened. You think you have a main character, and all of a sudden they're gone. So it was a great show. And last, my buddy Blue Shirt Buddha Bruce asked a question: if you could have one watch, regardless of price, what would it be and why? That is an absolutely loaded question, Bruce. It brings in so many components. Because the reality is that as I do my watch shopping, I am, I'm a kind of a realist in what I'm going to spend. So I think I'm going to defer that question for now, and I'm going to make a notation, and I think I'm going to think about that one a little bit more, because it is absolutely fantastic question, and I do believe I will make an episode on that too as well. So that's it for the first half. I will do another, I'll answer the rest of the questions in a second part video. Thanks for watching. Stay positive, make friends, enjoy the journey. I'll catch y'all soon. Bye-bye.